What's up, everybody? I'm Kat Bailey, and this is our extended look at Dragon Age the Veilguard's gameplay. I'm here with BioWare lead developers Corinne Bush and John Epler. Corinne, what are we looking at today?
Hey all, so today we're going to be helping out one of our companions, Davrin. This is part of his personal arc. We're going to take a quick journey through your base of operations and make our way to the dark swamps of Hosur wetlands.
I have to say that I find the Griffin adorable.
And very importantly, I know this is a question on everyone's mind. Yes, you can pet Asan.
So I assume that Asan can be helpful during the gameplay.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, a lot of Davrin's abilities revolve around calling Asan in the heat of battle. I in particularly love when you're going against enemies, you see Asan swoop down, especially if it triggers a combo between your companions. All right, now we're going to get into combat here, and this time we're playing as a mage. Now, mage is one of my favorite classes to play. It's primarily a ranged attacker, and when we're surrounded by swarming darkspawn, I really have to use a variety of strategies to control the battlefield. I'm going to use my heavy charged attacks to knock down these ghouls, get them out of the way, and of course, darkspawn are vulnerable to fire. So we made sure to equip our fire staff, have our fire abilities on hand.
Corinne, I noticed that you were doing a combo opportunity. Can you tell us a little bit more about how the role that plays in the actual combat?
Yes, so the combat system in this game, the deep strategy behind it is really to manage the various abilities your companions and Rook have in concert. So in this case, Harding has a combo opportunity with Shred. It's going to apply the Sundered effect and deal a high amount of stagger. Now you'll notice I can combo that with Rook's ability Spirit Bomb. That's going to cause a detonation combo.
So now you're in Hosur wetlands. It's an area that has been almost completely consumed by the Blight. The Grey Wardens have set up an outpost here. Again, if you know anything about the Grey Wardens, they fight the Blight anywhere they see it.
Tell me a little bit more about this area. It looks a little bit like a hub where you can get a lot of quests and things like that.
That's right. So here we find one of the bases of the Grey Wardens. So you'll see they've really built up a small fighting force here to hold off the Darkspawn. What's more, the Grey Wardens are a faction we're going to be working with throughout the game. We've got Holden, one of the Grey Warden quartermasters. We're actually going to upgrade his shop and see what items he has in store for us, see if maybe it gives us an edge in combat. We're going to quickly check in with Finn the physician and see what he has in store for us.
So Flynn, again, one of the focuses of this game is characters, not causes.
I've been busy with patients, but I'm short on medical supplies. My mentor, Oscar, he should have some. He has a cabin outside the village. If you're out there, tell him you saw Flynn, and they could use his help.
And Flynn is a warden who you will do quests with. We wanted to make sure that the side content of Dragon Age the Veilguard felt as meaningful and tied to the overall conflict of the game as anything else you do. We don't want you to just go off and do random tasks. Everything needs to feel meaningful, either contributing to your fight against the gods or contributing to the growth of your companions and the factions that you need at your side to stop the gods.
You look a bit worried.
We're not sure where some of our wardens are, Beckett and a few others. We're supposed to check in. We need to look out for each other more than ever.
All right, now I'm actually going to switch to my Orb and Dagger on the mage. And those of you that were fans of the Knight Enchanter in Dragon Age Inquisition, you might feel right at home with this. This is a more melee-focused, more agile version of the mage. One of the main mechanics here is you can use this elemental orb to apply stacks of elemental damage to the enemy, and then unleash them with your dagger to detonate them.
So, again, we're in, you'll notice that there are blight pools. The darkspawn aren't just coming out of nowhere. The blight is spawning them again.
That was a pretty clutch heal a little earlier, by the way.
You know, we've talked at length before that our fans have asked us, where is the healing magic? Can you bring it back? And Nev in this game, happy to oblige with a kit of healing spells.
So one of the interesting things that I love about our companions is each of them, their abilities, the way that they're built, they're very thematically appropriate to the character. They're very focused on making sure that the gameplay and the narrative are as closely aligned as possible. In the case of Nev versus Vlar versus Amrik, our mages, each of them has a healing ability that is thematically appropriate to them. It makes sense when you know them as a character.
Watching you play, I'm struck by sort of the size and the scope of this particular area. It seems like there's a lot of exploration that I can be doing right here.
That was really one of our goals with these areas. Of course, we are a mission-based game, but we really emphasize player autonomy. You can revisit these spaces. They're full of secrets, puzzles, some pretty incredible bosses and treasure. And of course, as we saw earlier, some really narratively rich side quests.
One thing that's interesting is you'll find we're going on a quest for Davrin, but Davrin is not currently in our party. That's because Davrin has gone ahead of us and is waiting for us. This is, again, we want the followers, the companions, to feel like they have autonomy, and while they won't complete the quest on their own, they will go ahead and get things ready. So when you get there, you can you talk to them, you'll have a conversation with them, and it feels like they're as invested in the success of their journey, their stories, as you are.
This looks like a pretty contiguous zone, is that right?
It is, yes. So it's full of branching paths, different areas to explore. And what I love is the more content you do in the area, the more shortcuts you're going to discover. You're really going to have a lot more flexibility in how you navigate between your remaining missions and quests.
Well, I think something really interesting, too, about the way that our team has built these spaces is there's the idea of each space has its own story to tell. And while those quests, you know, we talked earlier about those quests and side quests being narratively relevant, they also contribute to a more of a meta-narrative, meta-story about the space itself.
All right, we can see our companions are up here attacking this dark spawn on their own. Let's give them a quick hand. All right, and I love positional gameplay, making use of the environment to your advantage.
And I just saw that you could do a takedown move, so it's kind of a finishing move.
You can. Now, in this particular build, I'm really focused on using necromantic energies to siphon life force. But if I, for instance, wanted to go the stagger route, I could go a full takedown build if I like. It's a really powerful, heavy-hitting style of gameplay.
So because we don't have Davrin in our party, he's going to move ahead and wait for us while we bring Nev and Harding along to clear a path for ourselves to find Davrin and get to where he is.
Can you talk a little bit about how Nev and Harding sort of synergize during the combat?
Yeah, so Nev and Harding, Nev is a mage, Harding is a rogue, and each of the classes, and you can build a party entirely of one class if you want, but the idea is that the classes synergize and they can set up and detonate each other's abilities in a very interesting way. Now, because you have a lot of freedom in how you build your character, you can, again, as said, you can have all rogue party, all mage party, all warrior party, and it still works. But in this case, Nev and Harding are very effective at setting up and detonating, in this case, as Corinne's going to show.
So we're in danger here, and this is really what I love about the tactical layer of combat. If you get in that clutch situation where you've got this devastating incoming attack, great time to pause gameplay, weigh your options, and in this case, I'm going to go back to our combo here and see if I can just quickly get out of the way. All right. You can see I've applied siphoning to these enemies, so I'm actually going to be leeching their health when I use my mage beam. Now you'll notice there's blight boils throughout the area, and that's part of our philosophy on the combat encounters. If I don't destroy these blight boils, ghouls are going to continue to emerge. So I'm really focused on what targets do I take down first. This enemy is a little bit weaker. I think I'm going to have my companions focus on them while I deal with this grenadier that's given me some problem.
Yeah, I will say, and that's no, I'm not on the stick. Corinne is much better at this game than I am, and this
you say that?
Well, most of the time, yes, 100%.
One thing that I'm noticing is that the combat encounters can get pretty intense. You end up fighting a lot of different enemies. You can absolutely die if you're not careful.
Yes, and this, as we mentioned earlier, this is well into the game. So combat counters have really ramped up. And it really shows the importance of positioning, using your companions wisely, and looking for those synergies and combos. Now, this is interesting. We just went down. We've built our companions to be able to come to our aid. So we're actually going to use a revive here. And Nev to the rescue.
And as Corinne mentioned, this is later in the game, and Hosur itself is what I would consider a later game area, and the encounter is a little bit more challenging. It's a more dangerous space. This shows up in the encounter, but it also shows up in the visuals.
Well, we'll be able to explore more when Dragon Age: The Veilguard comes out on October 31st. In the meantime, we are going to be continuing on with our IGN First coverage of Dragon Age for the rest of September. And for everything that's great about games and RPGs, keep it locked on IGN.